Eta, the aura, the A, the S, the T, the A, the F, the A, the R, the I, eta, the aura, the A, the S, the T, the A. What you love, King Selassie, I, we had the R, the A, the S, the T, the A, the F, the A, the R, the I. What you love, King Selassie, I, it had the R, the A, the S, the T, the A, the F, the A, the R, the I. What you love, King Selassie. Rastafari got job vibes and the vision, pulling brings out peace. Bring your blessings, bring your land. Addis Ababa, capital of Ethiopia, Africa. In Genesis, it is your foundation. Selassie, the King of Kings, you come again. You deny you bring your order that the Rasta man defend. To tend the sick, the poor, and also guide the children who lose the 7 seas and keep the Sabbath till the end. It have the R, the A, the S, the T, the A, the F, the A, the R, the I. It have the R, the A, the S, the T, the A. Wait, you know, King Selassie, we have the R, the A, the S, the T, the A, the F, the A, the R, the I. We're yellow, King Selassie. R-A-S-T-A-F-A-R-I. Rastafari. Dealing up a Rastafari. R-A-S-T-A-F-A-R-I. Rastafari. We're yellow, King Selassie. R-A-S-T-A-F-A-R-I. Rise up all Rastafari.
Cordia africana. Yes, typical the funnel-shaped flowers of Cordia.
Comment?
C'est pas bon, c'est grave.
Ah, j'adore, moi.
Ah bon?
Gondar.
So here we can see the Blue Nile falls, 30 kilometers away from Végétal. So now we are in the north of the country, north of Ethiopia. These falls create a lot of humidity, and we can see some taro, some colocasia naturalized here. Of course, they are not from Africa. We see many plants covering the humid face of the basaltic rock because all these rocks are basalt. We see a very spiny Acanthus, so probably a Blepharis. We see, for instance, a Hypericum here. We see also some Solanum, and everywhere a climbing Cissus. Also some Dombeya, some Buddleja, but not many species actually, especially now during the dry season. But the Blue Nile falls are really amazing. So, just in front of us, we see the Blue Nile Falls, but on the first site, we see a ficus which has some new leaves. Maybe it's not ficus source, or I don't know, another species, but we see all the figs along the stems. So it has new figs and new leaves almost at the same time. And it's growing vertically on the basalt rocks.
The one is white teff and red teff.
Ah, you have the wild teff and red
white teff and red teff. Ah. Red teff means the injera is like red, and the white teff is like white. It is marvelous. Ah. And also you can look after here. Yes. And she making injera, and you can, if you want, you can eat.
Sorry. Yeah.
By its tasty.
It's very, very nice lady. Oh.
Martreza.
Martreza.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, yes.
It's expensive because after 40 years old, to put it under the ground, the people to collect the money. This is the Martreza to collect is put it under the ground.
So it is which teff? The white teff?
White teff. Yeah.
White teff.
The red teff is the best one. Yeah. The people to eat like this too.
Ah, okay.
It is per kilogram. It is 22 bro. 1 kilogram.
22 for 1 kilogram.
Yeah, in 100 gram is 2,200.
This is oil.
Oh, not oil.
Yeah.
It's like oil.
Ah, ça va être beau. Super. C'est une vraie crêpe. We are at the top of the small Kibran Island in the middle of the lake Tana, the biggest lake in northern part of Ethiopia. And at the top of this small forested island, we see this San Gabriel monastery, now a little bit in renovation, but perfectly built with a beautiful roof made of bamboo and grasses and very beautiful pillars. I'm very surprised because it's a quite well preserved forest, because all habitations of the monks are under the trees in small houses. We see now it's a dry season, but we see so many fern species totally covering the trunks and the branches of the trees. So we understand that actually during the rainy season it's raining a lot, and I think that among these ferns many of them are reviviscent, so it means they are dry now, but they will recover. And we see also many different tree species, and in the understory a huge Acanthus with a white inflorescence. I did see also a white climbing plumbago, which looks a little bit like a plumbago reculata.
And the dragon, fighting by Holy Spirit, he killed the dragon blessed by cross. And the Zion, he gave farmland for this island first time. This is the original crowns made from bronze. So all this, it tells us the activity of kings in the previous. And sheep horn cross, this is the end. It's taken more than so it included Bibles, wisdom, sacred. All of Ethiopia religions act, you know, the how to life of monastic, how to the scholars activities, all of included like to inside.
I see again Acanthus sennii, the red one, but it's totally different from the Ballet Mountain plants we did see. The leaves are much more narrow and it has many spikes. It is very well branched, totally different growth habit. The flowers, the leaf is maybe smaller, but there are so many that it's very spectacular. And we see these patches of forest. Everywhere should be forest, but now it has been mostly destroyed, of course, but hopefully we can still see very interesting plants. We are at the Simien mountain, at 3,000 meters above sea level. The place is surrounded by Rosa abyssinica, and now is a good period for flowering. And there are many white flowers. There is also a white hypomea and another lamiaceae, which is probably a kind of phlomis, which has also white flowers. So we are surrounded by white flowers at the Simien mountains.
C'est un peuple très calme, hein. C'est incroyable. Très très grégaire, très calme. Et c'est peu qui s'enculent. Here we can see on the Simien plateau many characteristic species. We see an olive tree, Olea europea, all the Erica arborea covered by usne, the lichen usne, which means that at night it remains quite humid, and a shrubby euphorbia. I don't know which species, but it reaches about 3 meters height, and of course Rosa abyssinica climbing over the euphorbias and the other shrubs, and also the yellow Hypericum revolutum. So all these species, Hypericum revolutum, the euphorbia, Rosa abyssinica, Olea europea, Erica arborea, are very characteristic of this forest. Here we are at 3,200 something meters above sea level, and also we see another temperate plant, Clematis, climbing Clematis with all the fruits typical of the Clematis. Here we can see the euphorbia with 3-parted fruits of euphorbia, and probably it has white latex. Oh, no. Usually euphorbia has white milk, but not this one.
We see the dry stems of an Asteraceae with all the capitula having flowering and dissemination of the winged seeds. And according to the leaves, I'm almost sure it's a Vernonia. There are many species of Vernonia, usually with beautiful purple flowers. For herbaceous species, it's a big one because in Vernonia there are some shrubby species, but among herbaceous species, this is a very big one. The stems live only one season, and of course they are growing again from the base during the rainy season.
Voilà, il y a des paquets de fleurs blanches. Attends, je vais prendre du jumelle, je sais pas ce que c'est.
It seems it's a Adiantum, but a very, very beautiful Adiantum. We see the leaves here, the stems, and we see the flowers with the 5 petals with incisions.
and it really looks like a Adiantus.
Another hypericum.
Yeah, another hypericum with big leaves and the groups of flowers, but there are at least 4 species of hypericum in the mountains of Ethiopia. Here is another species of Vernonia, which has exceptionally bright purple inflorescence. It is a half shrubby species growing on the slopes. Of course, this Echinops is smaller than Echinops from Bali Mountain, but it has very, very beautiful spiny leaves, and inflorescence is a little bit smaller, but it's interesting because in these mountains of Ethiopia there are no Dendrosenecio, but the family Asteraceae is represented by these shrubby Echinops. Of course, they are not so lignified as the Dendrosenecio, but it's in some way something equivalent in the family. I'm very surprised because when I see this erect fleshy stem arising from the soil, I did see it should be a rumex or at least a polygonaceae, but finally when I look from where it emerges, it doesn't emerge from the soil but from this old stem, and actually this is the rumex with pink inflorescence that we see everywhere on the hills, and actually we see that the new shoots arising from the base are totally different. They have wide leaves and the nerves are very, very beautiful.
It's an incredible Buddleja, isn't it?
Oh yeah, this Buddleja polystachya, it's the same species we see in many places, but this individual is incredibly bright. We can compare with the other ones just close to it, which are usual orange. This one is really fire. I think it's a phlomis. So again a temperate genus, because here in these mountains of Ethiopia, it's the same as in most mountains in tropical countries, we find many genera of temperate affinity. We see here Hypericum, we see Convolvulus, a bindweed, we see Verbascum, many endemic species of Verbascum, 7 or 8 endemic to Ethiopia. Also, we did see a very beautiful Adiantum. It's really characteristic. Also, in the Andes in South America, we can find temperate genera like a viola, for instance. Here there are also some ranunculus. So it's very strange to be in a tropical country and to find quite familiar genera for temperate people. It's a bindweed, so it's a Convolvulus, and it's very strange. It's again temperate genus, and there are at least 4 endemic species of bindweed Convolvulus in Ethiopia, and it is growing on a shrub which is a rumex, a shrubby rumex, which is also a typical temperate genus. I think it's an Abutilon. It is very beautiful with long staminal column exerted, quite small flowers, but very well designed. Perfect design of the flowers. Here is a beautiful member of Malvaceae. It's probably a hibiscus with beautiful pink flowers. It's a shrubby species. I don't know, no, it's perennial, but it has new shoots from the base, but we see it's a little bit lignified. There are many Malvaceae here in altitude also, some Abutilon, some hibiscus, probably some cedar also.
What are you observing?
I'm observing a grass.
Yeah.
And when it is growing vertically, we see that stems and the leaves are hanging down. But when I see them growing not so vertically, I see that actually it's much more erect, and it is the same grass that the Gelada monkeys were eating yesterday. So when they have not cultivated the old fields, they eat mostly this grass.
Yes, we see a very old specimen of Rosa abyssinica, because usually when it's among the trees it's climbing, and due to the spines it can climb quite high, 6-8 meters high, but here it is self-standing, and I'm very surprised to see a so huge trunk for a Rosa, because usually Rosa keep trunks maximum 8-10 centimeters, and this one is about 20 centimeters in diameter, and we see some new shoots at the base, and perfectly self-standing and totally covered by flowers.
A species of many spermacea are going at the shape of the leaves, the tiny flowers, not at all spectacular. The shape of the leaves looks like a Stephania, so maybe it's an African species of Stephania.
So here I'm among the so beautiful Rosa abyssinica, which you have seen can become really a tree. And here also is a very, very beautiful Vernonia, one of the many species of Vernonia. And about 12 species are endemic to this country, to the highlands, or not only the highlands, to mid-altitude and highlands of Ethiopia. This one, I don't know which one it is, but since we are at about 3,000 meters above sea level in the Simien mountains, where there are many endemic species, we can imagine that this Vernonia is endemic. So, one more genus, which is mostly of temperate affinity. We see the Clematis also climbing, which are temperate, the Rosa, we see the Rumex. So a lot of temperate affinity plants, but when you see Agenia abyssinica, it's totally from these tropical areas. Erica arborea, of course, is also some temperate origin, but there is also a lot of really tropical plants.
On this humid rock, shaded, we see a small Asteracea, but it is quite strange because it has a long creeping stem. It's not so usual to see members of this family with creeping stems like this. We see it here. I say Asteracea because here I see the two inflorescences, which are really typical of Asteracea inflorescence. So we see this fern, which is typical, it's just a typical shape. But it's interesting because when we look at the rivers, we see this white, bright white color. It is due to very small oppressed hairs, and it allows them to survive when it is a very, very dry season. And here, for instance, these individuals on much more exposed site, just above, we see the frond beginning to recurve inwards, and it becomes dry like this, but it is reviviscent, so when it will be raining again, this frond will open. So it's a typical adaptation to environments which are sometimes very humid and sometimes dry. And according to the site, of course, the way of life is a little bit different. Here we see Adiantum, probably Adiantum ethiopiacum, in this humid place. Here another fern species. So just in this place we can see 3 different ferns. It's a very shaded and humid place. So we can see that in these environments, just under the Erica arborea, we can find not only dry situations but also some very humid along each vertical small cliff. Yes, I look at this shrub with bright orange fruits. It's look a little bit maybe like a buxus, but I don't think it could be a buxus. Here is a very strange Herbaceous oleana, but climbing high in the tree. It has opposite leaves. It has swollen notes. So opposite leaves, swollen notes, we could think about Acanthus, but the structure is very strange for Acanthus. If there's no. Ah yes, there is a little bit milk. It's an Asclepiadaceae. Okay, one of these climbing. I know there are some Ceropegia species and some endemic Ceropegia species in Ethiopia. So probably it is, for sure, it's an Asclepiadaceae and maybe a Ceropegia. Climbing everywhere. So we are here on a table summit in the Simien mountain, just under the Lima Limo Lodge, and we have a 360 degrees view on all these mountains. We are here at 3,000 meters above sea level, and we see all the typical flora of these areas, dominated by the Erica arborea, but also in many places Rosa abyssinica becomes dominant because it's inside of climbing. It can become a shrub in these areas. Rumex is here, of course, also. And down we see beautiful forest with Agenia, with the Mercinaceae, with all the characteristic species, but very difficult access. Hopefully, all along this trail we can see quite well preserved small patches of forest, because of course in these areas, due to all the horses and oxes and cattle, everything is grazed, and regeneration of trees is difficult, and also there are cultivated fields, but the Gelada baboons are happy because they eat all the grasses, the only monkey in the world eating only grasses. Of course, during the rainy season they can eat green leaves of the grasses and the roots, because in the roots there are a lot of nutrients.
C'est beau cette tenue toute drapée en blanc comme ça avec la coiffe.
So we see this asteracea, which is cultivated always around the houses, because I think simply because people think it's a beautiful species. Probably it's native of this area, but this we have to check after.
So, where are you at?
Oh, we are in Addis Ababa, in a traditional restaurant. It's very good, the kind of a crepe, and we use it to put the food inside.
Delicious, isn't it?
Perfect.
Il y a tous les plats, all the dishes. Injera.
Bravo. Just few hours, we are in Ethiopia. We could never imagine one day to come to Ethiopia. Finally we come.